red board, I have 3 categories of problems, like the 3 problems in the open. Do you kind of see the pattern? The first one, the blue one, x squared plus bx plus c. Does that kind of look like number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? There's a 1 in front, not a number. It's a 1x squared with, I don't know, something, b, 7. And something, c, negative 30. Number 2, the red one, ax squared plus bx plus c. What changes? What extra thing do I need to think about? And then the third type of problem, a squared minus b squared. Squared minus squared. Hey, number 3, 2 terms. Squared minus, I think 9 is a square. How many of you guys have at least 1 done? Raise your hand. Keep it up if you have at least 2 done. Keep it up if you have all 3 done. Let's go ahead and give everybody 1 more minute. We have just a few people that haven't gotten to the third, if they've been able to get to the first 2. For those of you that are done early, after we do these 3 problems, I'm going to ask what other type of problem did I miss? Tomorrow's quiz is on section 7.6 and 7.7. There is one other kind of bigger, fuller type of problem I did not write down. Hold on to it. I don't want to ask people quite yet. It's too much to process, I think, but hold on to it. You're trying to think of what type of problem did I miss that we probably should still look at before tomorrow. They're all factoring. What type of problem did I miss? All right. I think it's been about a minute. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to go blue. Why? Because it fits under the blue category. Yeah? Are we good? Okay. Now, I've shown for every single one of them an X. Well, we'll have to figure out what this is in a box. Some of you might not need to show this, but most of you do. Whether or not you've been showing me in homework. Some of you might not need to show it, but most of you do. Whenever we are doing an x squared plus bx plus c, we always get to write the x squared in this box. We always get to write the c in this box. In our x, because there's a 1 in front, we technically always do 1 times c, so it's always going to look like just c because there's a 1 in front. And the b goes in the bottom. And that 1 times c is the number whose factors I'm looking for. So, so in this problem, I'm looking at factors of negative 30 because 1 times negative 30 is negative 30, 7 is right down here, and I'm trying to fill in my box. Well, it's really easy. I know the x squared goes there and the negative 30 goes there. What I'm missing are my 2 middle terms. Now, some of you write this out in a line, and that's okay, but you have to realize you're doing the same thing as I am, and you still probably need an x, either to write it or to think it. Now, you guys got to start a little bit earlier than me on this. Did you figure out which factors of 30? 1 and 30, 2 and 13, 3 and 10. Yeah, good, 3 and 10. Now, hold on. If this is a minus, this is a trick that always works. Am I going to have the same sign or the opposite sign? Opposite. And if it's opposite, the bigger guy always wins if it's opposite. What's the bigger guy need to have?
10.
A positive. You see it? So, you guys already figured out 3 and 10. Perfect. I need the bigger guy to be the positive number, and I need the other guy to be the negative number. Now, some of you can go straight to the answer, but that only works for the blue category. As soon as we get into red, it's going to fail. So, why not just do what works every time? Throw in the 10x and the negative 3x. If you guys have been writing this in a line, you've been taking the 7x and splitting him up into 2 numbers. This is where the numbers come from. 1 and 30 wouldn't have made 7. 2 and 15 wouldn't have made 7. 6 and 5 wouldn't have made 7. Only 3 and 10. And I needed one of them to be a negative so that the multiplication was a negative, and I needed one of them to be negative so that the subtraction got 7. Now, help me out. Once I have the box, it's the same thing every time. You ask yourself, what is in, what's the C stand for with GCF?
Common.
Common. Good. What's in common? What's in common as I go across? Kayla, this is your way, I think. Go with these guys, right?
Yeah.
What's in common? X. Help me out. What's in common? X. Kayla just starts there every time. You can. You don't have to, but you can. And she said, hey, there's an X in common, there's an X in common. No numbers are in common, so forget it. But now the rest of us, we have two more to fill in. What numbers, because the X's aren't in common, what numbers are in common?
10.
10 is the biggest. And you always pull out whatever sign is right here. So it's a positive 10, but this guy is going to be a negative 3. As soon as you have that, you are ready to answer your problem. Because your factors are right here. What do we got?
X minus 3.
Oh, wait, some of you started saying it backwards. It's fine. Could it have been x minus 3 and x plus 10? Completely, totally, utterly would have been correct still. Dun, 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 dun. If you got that right, give yourself a check mark, because I would give you 100% on it tomorrow. If you got something wrong, what did you get wrong? Do you need to ask a question now? Do you need to ask a question now? If so, I'm ready. Are we okay? Are we okay?
Yeah.
Now, guys, I have to change from blue to red. It's getting one step harder, right? Only positive language in my class. So I'm changing to red. Now, with red, question. What stays the same in my X?
The first one, the AX squared and the C.
Oh wait, the B.
Well, yeah, in the X, technically, only the B stays the same, but, Keela, you're technically right. We're still doing the same thing, but instead of 1 times C, well, it's going to look different because it's an A times C. Does that make sense?
Yes.
We can still do 1 and C over there, Diana. Please focus. If anyone's distracting you, just give them a look and be like, stop. But coming back, A times C. So what's going to come over here? Well, A times C, I don't know. It depends. In number 2, what is A times C going to be? Good. So we wouldn't pull out the 3 or the 8. We would do the negative 24 after the side. Now the nice thing is, what still goes here in this left box?
The AX.
Whoever the first guy is. And what's still going to go here in this box?
C.
Whoever the C is. We just have to figure out what goes there. So, coming over here, let's go ahead and do this one in red. You guys already told me to take negative 24 because you multiplied A times C, and that's perfect. And that's what would go in the top of our X. That negative 2 goes down. Did you already find factors of dividing by 1, dividing by 2, dividing by 3? What would make 2?
6 and 4.
Okay. You got down to 4 and 6. That's looking awful nice. Now wait. It had a minus, which means same signs or opposite signs? Opposite signs. This time, what's the bigger one need to have? Okay. So check it. Opposite signs, the bigger one needs to be negative. So negative 6 and positive 4. Got it. Don't even really have to think that hard. Trey, that makes sense?
Yeah.
So then check it. You can always double check. What's negative 6 times 4? Remember, multiplication is always up. Addition is always down. If that's confusing to you, it's always the same. You need a color that's not red or green. Orange? You guys even see that? Multiplication is coming up and addition is coming down. That's always the same. That never changes. We haven't gotten to that one yet. Okay. So I go to my box, yeah? So what goes here in this problem?
3 and 3.
Mm-hmm. What goes here in this problem? Mm-hmm. What does my X tell me to do for these two missing? But it's an N this time, right?
Right.
And then you're asking yourself the exact same question. What is in common? So what's in common?
4. Oh,
Just an M, right? But this one is not just an M. There's a 3
3n.
and an m. Because 3 times 1 is 3 and 3 times 2 is 6. The common number is 3. The common number is 3. Now, what's in common here?
4.
Some of you might have said 2, but remember, you have to pick the greatest one. So 4 is the greatest one. But what's the greatest one here? 2, and then pull out that negative, right? So then, as long as you guys know how to read what's on the outside of that box, what are my factors? In any order, doesn't matter. Now, careful, careful, careful. I said any order, but what I mean by that, these two always need to go together. So you could have also written it m minus 2 and 3m plus 4, guys. Either one of those would have had a check 100%. If you got it, give yourself a check, because I give you 100% on that problem too.
Yeah.
If you didn't get it right, remember, either one. I'm just going to box one, because you probably won't write both answers tomorrow, but either order is okay, as long as you have them matching.
Are you set the signs wrong?
Are we gonna practice
On the bottom. On that one, I got the signs wrong.
the, like, doing one of these each a day? Because I just got this one wrong.
It's all about speed. So before the test, yeah, just right now it's a little too early. Some of you can go fast, and some of you, it would mess you up. Yeah, we will, because there's, remember, a type of problem I haven't. So hold on. Andrew, the signs,
Yeah.
remember? You probably got one was positive, one was negative.
Yeah.
Right.
I just did it in reverse.
The struggle was you always have to look here for the bigger number, because the bigger always wins his sign. So the bigger number was 6. I needed him to be a negative so that this was a negative 2. You accidentally just made it positive. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Good, good, good. Now we're at the last one that's a weird one. Now remember, I still missed a type of problem we're going to have to look at in the next page. But this guy's totally weird, and you guys noticed it first thing tomorrow. You guys were all like, what? There are only how many terms? We're used to 3. Whether or not we're acing it, we're used to 3, not 2. Does anyone remember, if we're going to do it the X way, what I said you could make the middle term every time?
0.
Yeah, because it went away. It's not there. So on this last one, if you have a squared minus squared, you could make this middle guy a 0, and you could still do your, well, now it's a little weird. But you could still do your a times, now I know it's weird, I'm really sorry. But guys, if there aren't 3 pieces, they don't need a, b, and c, so the formula only has a squared minus b squared. It's weird, but it's kind of natural. If you don't have 3, I don't need a, b, c, it's just a, b. But isn't it still first and last, technically? Right? Now wait. Wait a minute. It is first and last? But what are these little squared guys? Okay. Okay. What if we were to take something like this, and what if we were to rewrite it as, I don't even know how I could rewrite it. Let's see if this makes sense. If I write this, do you guys think just first and last? If I do a times c? Do you think of it like this? Meaning, if I was to come over here, what would you put in the top of your s? Put a negative 36, right? Okay. I know it's hard because the letters have changed just a little bit. It's still the first times the last. It's still times 4 times negative 9, which is negative 36. What's different is that my middle is what you guys told me, 0. What factors of 36 make 0 when you have opposite signs?
0.
But 0 times 0 isn't 36. Hold on, careful. What times what is 36 in a way that they're going to cancel each other out? 6 and 6, right? It's a perfect square. And if one of them has to be a negative, well, that's totally going to work, right? So if you want, if you're comfortable in the box, you can keep using it. Just put a 0. And then what's going to go here is a 4y squared. What's going to go here is a negative 9. And you guys just figured out I need a negative 6y and a 6y. Ask yourself what's in common. All that changed was, there's no middle. Ah, oh, it's a 0. What's in common?
2.
Y.
There is a 2 in common, but a 2 and a
Y.
y.
Ooh.
And then if I go this way, what's in common?
2.
And a, oh, they match. That's weird. What's in common here?
3.
A 3. And what's in common here?
3.
Negative.
Negative 3.
Whatever.
They're the same thing, but one is a positive and one is a negative. My people that figured out the shortcut last night in numbers 2 through 14, is there a way to jump from squared minus squared to the answer? Every time, yes. So what is that shortcut? If you see this guy as an a squared minus a b squared, you can always jump to the answer by saying, who are you the squared of, plus, who are you the squared of? And who are you the squared of minus who are you the squared of? I know that's weird. And we saw yesterday, in order to figure that out, you had to think about this guy as the square of something, aka you had to square root him. And you had to square root him. And for some of you, square rooting is way more complicated than just putting a 0 and saying, whatever, I'll just do the system. So both ways work. Box works. Just make a 0 for the middle term. But then the shortcut works if you're that kind of person where you're like, you know what, I think I can branch out to the shortcut because it's a little bit easier. So question, what is the square root of 4y squared? 2 and y. Okay, check it. That's what came first. And what is the square root of 9? That's what came second, with a plus and a minus. It'll always happen. So, before we totally transition to more examples or figuring out that one problem we haven't looked at yet that might be on that quiz tomorrow, can we at least quickly, right now, from squared minus squared, see how you guys did on 2 through 14 last night? Because they were squared minus squareds, right? So, squared minus squareds, get that homework out. Open up your homework spiral. Get that section. 7 point, what were we on? 7? 2 through 14 evens.
No,
I think that's right.
I was like, it's all, but
Oh, right.
yeah.
Right. Where did homework get weird? If it helps, we can do all. We can do all.
10.
Wait a minute. Number 2. What? Why didn't we factor it? Squared minus, oh. Did it match my pattern?
No.
So they were like, oh, forget it. It's not the pattern. It just looks like it, but it's not. So forget that one. Okay, here we go. Do you guys see the pattern of a plus b, a minus b?
Yes.
Yes.
You just had to ask yourself, what's the square root of those? Oh, what happened to number 7?
Yeah, the factors.
Are you guys right? Did number 9 get weird?
Yeah.
Like the answers look weird. Like it's not even what we're expecting. These ones are like factors, 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 factors. Numbers? Okay, hold on. Can we peek at number 7 real fast?
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions before number 7 on 2 through 6? Okay. Number 7. Why is there a 9 in front? What was the problem? Who's amazing and writes down the problem before they start solving? What was number 7?
225a squared minus 3. 36b squared.
Or where did the 9 come from? I see a lot of you guys saying yourselves. Where'd the 9 come from? I want you guys, if you have your calculators or phones, divide everything by 9. Divide everything by 9. Did anyone figure out the type of problem I had not looked at yet today? What if there is a GCF? What if there is a GCF? Has anybody done 225 divided by 9 yet?
Yeah, 45.
This guy has a GCF, and the GCF is, guys, you were doing so great. Come on, focus back on it. 225 divided by 9 is 25. What's 36 divided by 9? 4. If there's a GCF, you can take it out. But remember, when you take out, Isaiah, a GCF, you have to divide it, right?
Yes.
So, the very first step was, oh, those numbers are huge and confusing and bleh. So they said 9 goes into both, let's divide both by 9. Yeah? And then, well, if you know the shortcut, don't you just have to ask yourself what's the square root of? And what's the square root of? What's the square root of 25a squared?
5.
A 5 and an a. I get to put that first. My shortcut says I just need to go ahead and, oh, I didn't even show it over here. Sorry. I could maybe skip all of this if I understand, if I square root the first and square root the second, if I can figure out what was there before, I could maybe go straight to my answer. Otherwise, I use my box like putting in that 0. So I just need to ask myself, well, sweet, plus, minus, is he a perfect square? Yeah. What's his square root? 2. And? See it? Check it, guys. Got him. But some of you were like, number 10 got weird, and you're totally right. Number 9 kind of got weird too. So, oh wait, where's 14? Huh. Oh, there he is. He's way down there. You guys could have checked. Thank you. You guys could have checked number 9. Can we talk about number 10? Just to get one of the weird ones down. What was number 10's problem? Someone amazing wrote it down.
Oh, 19 squared minus 11 squared.
If you had seen that in like a, I don't know, when did you guys have seen this? When were you doing squares? Maybe like pre-algebra? Maybe math 6? It would have been a PEMDAS problem. And wouldn't PEMDAS have told you that you needed to square first, right?
Yes.
And you would have had to do, who knows 19 squared? I mean, 11 squared is 121. What's 19 squared? Pause. You don't have to go back to math 6 or back to elementary math and do like, oh, right? I have a friend who's teaching 4th graders. They have a test on this today, 2-column multiplication. Struggle. It used to be a thing. You should still know how to do it. But there's a shortcut now that you've learned algebra. Yeah, no, that's not it, but good try. There's a shortcut to doing this on your own without an instrument helping you, without a calculator or a phone or whatever else. An abacus? Anyway. Isn't this an a squared minus a b squared?
Yes.
But there are no variables. Hey, algebra helps us with numbers sometimes. Because can't I go to a plus b, a minus b?
Yes.
What's 19 plus 11 times 19 minus 11? Well, hold on. Isn't that 2030
Yes.
times 8,
Yes.
which is 240?
Yes.
Good thing I was right. Otherwise, you guys would just be agreeing you're wrong. I went ahead and did my parentheses. So 19 plus 11 was 30, and 19 minus 11.
No. No.
Okay, so how do you finish the rest of those weird ones? They're all differences of squares.
No.
Okay, for tomorrow's quiz, to be honest, there might be a bonus that's like this. Might be a bonus.
How do you do that one?
I just did. Can we do one more? What do you guys want? 12 or 14? 14? 12. Oh, Everest was very strong on 14. Sorry. But what was number 14's problem?
39.
Okay, it's time for you to help them and study for their quiz. Okay.
Okay.
So, what's the square root of 39 squared? Oh, wait. Isn't it just 39?
No.
Who's being squared? 39 is being
Nine.
squared. Oh, got it. Who's being squared? 36 is being squared. So, I can go ahead and use my trick. Adrian, you see what I'm doing? A squared minus b squared is who is squared plus who is squared times same thing with a minus. But how do you solve it? Parentheses. Isn't that 3?
Yes.
Isn't that 60, 75? Anybody want to double check my math?
75.
if you have 3 sets of 75 cents, what would you end up having?
225.
225 cents, yeah. Or you can think that's 3 quarters and then 9 quarters. 9 quarters would be like, oh, sweet, $2 and an extra one, 25 cents. Anyway, there we go. So guys, those number ones are really great for like a bonus tomorrow, but that's not the point of chapter 7. The point of chapter 7, that was just like an extra trick, is this factoring thing. So Kayla was asking a second ago, like, is this our only practice? Can we get a little bit more? I can't do like tons and tons and tons more because there is one more homework that we need to talk about for tonight. It won't be on the quiz tomorrow. It won't be on the quiz tomorrow, but there is one more piece to section 7.7. But first, the type of problem I didn't do yet was what about, yeah, the negative and the GCF, right? Oops, not GFC, that's not GCF. Yeah, we're just doing another example. So if you want, you can stick it in your homework spiral. If you want, you can go back to your notes. As you guys are doing that, real quick, before you put away your homework, can you just hold up for me 2 through 14? Just hold it up. I'm going to do one of those quick checks. And then just turn it if you have 2 sides. Turn it if you have 2 sides. Got it. I'm just finding it. Hold on. Got it. Okay. This row, sorry, let me see. Oh, I was all on one side.
That's not even our homework. No.
Okay, this row. Jeremy.
No.
Thanks for the reminder. Let me see if you're for you. Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
No. No.
I was 12.
Alright guys, ready? Thank you. In your homework spiral or in your notes, one last example before our final topic of study time. What if you see this Big Mama problem tomorrow? Remember, I did an example of all 3 types and I said there was one type of problem I'm missing. And I think Levi or Adrian, someone said a negative. Oh, you had that like early. Nice. Right before we even did the problems, like, oh, I know what it is. We didn't do one of those with a negative in front or a GCF, so check it. What if I was to give you something like, okay, give me 1 second. Hold on.
Is that your backpack? Are you missing your backpack? Is that yours? Does that belong to you? No, it doesn't. Not anymore, does. That doesn't belong to you. That is not yours. It's somebody else's.
Wow.
I could be so yesterday. Bro, you didn't even know how to respond to this. You just got off your
I don't know.
all your She exposed your true feelings about her. And then you
Like 3 years ago. Like 3 years ago.
I heard you.
I was like,
I have heard.
Here we go, you ready? Okay, sorry, it's hard to make these ones up and wait, they're nice. Let me double check real fast, it's good. But you guys start thinking, how would you start? Parentheses. Oh, like pulling something out right away?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. What could you pull out? No, 12 doesn't go into 16 or 32. Don't pull out the 12. 4. But do you want a positive 4 or a negative 4?
Negative.
Okay, so pull out, aka factor out a negative 4. What happens if you factor out a negative 4?
You get 3, negative 4, and
Okay, so let's check it. Guys, this is like the hardest type of, I think, You have the 3 big categories and then one extra that puts a lot of stuff together. So if we're pulling out a -4, whenever you have a negative in front, a negative comes out. And some people realize a 4 goes in. Remember, you have to divide everything to factor out. So we end up with, Trey, you were trying to tell me what's left. What's left?
3.
Good.
B squared.
Keep going.
Minus 4b.
Got it?
Plus negative 8.
Good. Plus negative. I could make a minus, but yeah, you're right. Does that make sense? Everybody else, are we tracking?
Yeah.
We had to divide. So -12 divided by -4 is a positive 3. 16 divided by -4 is a -4. And 32 divided by -4 is a -8. But are we done? No, we just figured out who we're supposed to factor. So then we should come off to the side and say, okay, wait a minute. If we have that -24, has anybody done some of the work? Dividing by 1, dividing by 2, dividing by 3. Which factors will give us -4?
Oh,
2 and 12 will be a bit too big, right? Is anything working? Okay, it's because I gave a bad problem. This is why I don't make up problems. Ready? I need you guys to change this to an 8. It's okay. It's okay. I saw it a little bit too late. You're good. Make this plus 8b. And if we divide it in 8b, it's all right. It was a teacher fail on that one. If I divide by a -4, that would be a -2b. Do any of those factors make a -2?
Yes.
Yeah, which ones?
10 and 2.
Not 10 and 2.
6 and 8.
6 and 4. And we have opposite signs, right? And we need the bigger one to be a negative. And remember how we can we can avoid mistakes. So opposite signs, the bigger needs to be a negative. So who's going to be negative?
6.
Got it.
I remember it.
Then we go ahead and throw it in that box. It should feel a lot like what we've already done at this point. I just need to show you one more thing really quickly that I need you guys to not forget. You would say, what's in common? What's in common? What's in common? And what's in common? But when you go to write your answer, whatever order you do it in, I am wrong, unless I remember one. The -4 cannot disappear. So what was extra? We had to ask ourselves, is there a GCF? Yes. We have to factor him out, then do our normal process, but keep the GCF. So that was like a little step part. All right, guys. Great job practicing for the quiz tomorrow. We practiced everything for the quiz, not just one section, but both sections. But there's one little baby piece of section 7.7 that we need to talk about. Only 5 more minutes, just hang in there, okay? All right. Section 7.7, it's the homework that's due tomorrow, but the nice thing is it's not on the quiz. It's another type of special factor that has special answers. But to be honest, you don't necessarily need to memorize the shortcut. Guys, to factor a squared minus b squared, do you need to memorize the shortcut? Or can you just put a 0? You just put a 0. And look at these ones. Do these ones look weird?
Yeah. No.
Not really. It has 3 different pieces. It's a trinomial. Has 3 different pieces. It's a trinomial. It doesn't look weird. So how would you have factored this guy if you hadn't? I'm going to get rid of this because we're not doing it this way this year. We're using a box. What would you have put in your x, guys, if you had factored this guy like normal? 16, right? Because 16 times 1? Okay, what are factors of 16 that make 8?
4 and 4.
Mm-hmm. And we know that they're going to be the same sign because of the plus. And what same sign are they going to be? Positive. So 4 and 4. Wait, that's not hard. So why is there like a whole other homework on this? Well, when you go to do your box, you're you're going to have your n squared, your 16, 4n, and 4n, pulling out an n, and an n, and a 4, and a... Oh, that's weird. They're the same thing. But you have the answer. You're going to write it like this, but guess how the book is going to write it?
N plus 4.
Yeah, they're just going to add a square. That's the only thing that's new. Now, there is something that you could memorize, because it's a squared double squared. Oh, we did that with multiplication. It was like a thing. You could notice that the square root of this is 4, and 2 times 4 is 8, but that's a lot of mental work instead of just saying, whatever, plug them in. Oh, hey, it's 4 and 4. That's weird. Done. You can follow your normal process. You don't necessarily have to memorize this shortcut. Apologize. So to end off today, I just have a few different examples, but can I kind of do a harder one? These are easier ones. Can I go straight to a harder one? How would you guys factor this one if you saw it? Take out the 9. Nice, because 9 goes in everything, right? Z squared plus 4z plus 4. Now what?
The accident.
Okay, what goes up top?
36, 4.
Yeah, well, yeah, right? Just, here we go, 4. What goes in the bottom?
4.
What factors of 4 make 4? Oh, that's easy. 2, 2. Right? We have our z squared, our 4, our 2z, and our 2z. Huh. That's weird. What's going to happen in homework? They're all going to be that's weird because they're all going to match, right? They're all going to be that's weird because they're all going to match. So, what's the extra thing you guys are supposed to do to answer it? Just rewrite it. So guys, is this homework actually that weird?
Yes.
Not the process, but are the answers just going to be a little funny?
Yeah.
Because if you've done it right, probably most of these very select few are going to be like, oh, they're the same. Okay, put a squared. That's it. We're done. And we've only used positives because every single time so far these have been positive. So when we were saying like, hey, it's the same, what same sign? What's going to change, guys, if this was a negative instead? That's it. That's all that would change. If there was a negative, we would just have z minus 2 squared instead. Homework, it's on the sideboard. Take a picture of it, guys. But remember, your quiz, if you want, I would take a picture of the front board just to remember, but also those bell word problems were a great example, and I have the YouTube videos that will be in Google Classroom. You guys can watch to review before the quiz.
So, like, number like what you just did, is that going to be, like, homework?
See, it's not the same process. Just at the very end, you're like, oh, they're the same. That's it. Bell's about to ring in 30 seconds. Hold on, Ing. Don't disturb.
Did you kind of
Just
already
wait.
know this? Did you, like, already, like,